Hey, this is Paul from Les Barnes Guitars and welcome back to my shop. So in the first video for how to build a scarf joint neck, we took the blank to this point here. So it's glued up, the angle's glued up. The next step I gotta do is I gotta level out this surface right here and kind of clean up this surface right here. In particular, we're gonna make sure that this reference line, this straight line across here, which establishes the nut and the break angle for the headstock. We're gonna make sure that we keep that straight and clean. There's typically a little hump right here because when I glue them up, I kind of overlap a little bit so that when I sand it down, I got a real nice smooth transition. So we're gonna take this neck as far as we can today. We'll see what happens. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on my flat sander. I'm gonna kind of get this hump out of here. All right, just to speed things up a little bit, I established from the break angle of the headstock, 3/16 inch in. This is the width of the nuts that I use. And I put a mark there. The reason why I did that is because I have a template. This template is for a fingerboard for a 25.5 inch scale. I have them for 25 inch scales, 24 3/4, all sorts of scale lengths. And what I do is I put it up on here and I got a center line etched in it. And I line the center line up with the center line of the neck blank. And I draw it out. You don't have to draw it out. Basically what I need to know is this end. So I'll mark this end out. And that's the end of the fingerboard. That is where the spoke wheel type of truss rod, this is spoke wheel type. That's where the spoke wheel end is going to go. So I want it close to the edge, not right on it, maybe 30 seconds away. And that's going to be the access. And it's going to go right after the last fret. There'll be a little access hole in the fingerboard. So I'll take this and line it up. And I'll put a mark up on this end. Okay, and that is where it's going to get routed out. We're going to route a channel all the way down here. And it's going to go clean through. We're not worried about this end because we're going to do something else at the end for the spoke wheel part of it. So let's get it jigged up. This is the jig that I use to route the truss rod. It's just a piece of, I think it's 3/4 inch plywood. You can see there's other holes in this thing. I used to clamp it a different way at one time. But what I do now is I just drill holes straight into the lumber, straight into the neck blank, here, here, and here. And it's outside of the template. It's outside of the width of the neck and the end of the neck. So it gets cut away anyways. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow it with the bit that's designed, that's made to the width of this truss rod. And I'm gonna use this collet, and it's gonna just run in this channel right here. And this is my router for the chask, and it's a plunge router. And I'll just set my depth right, and I'll make a few passes, and it'll be cut out. Now, when this thing gets down, when the cut gets down to this end, it widens out a little bit. So that is to accept the barrel part of the truss rod. Just gives it room. And I'll also go a little bit, just a hair deeper there as well, to compensate for the barrel as well. Later on, you'll see my other jig that'll cut out the other section for the spoke wheel end. Looks good. So after we make the fingerboard, we get that set up on here, is when we're going to cut this section out over here. And this truss rod will move a little bit further that way because I'm still gonna square up that end. This is a piece of Power Furrow or Murado. It's called different things, but it's Power Furrow to me. I call it Power Furrow. It's kind of similar to ebony in its sound quality, basically, but it looks like more like a rosewood. I love this wood. It's a very, very nice sounding wood. So this piece right here, I just got done sanding it down. I've already had it pretty much prepped. I just did some sanding. You saw me do it on a flat sander. And it's got some nice figure to it. You can't really see it right now because it's dry, because I just sanded it. But when it's smooth and it's got a little bit of oil on it, man, it's gonna really pop. So I'm gonna take this piece, which is sanded down to 15/16 of an inch. And I leave it a little thick because there's going to be a little more sanding done to one side before you glue it down, and the other side that's going to have the fretted side is going to be radiused, so that's going to take a little bit of material away also. But when it's all said and done, it'll be a 1/4 inch thick, and that'll be the perfect thickness. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to double stick it down to this fretboard template. I should say a fret slotting template, and I'm going to do it old school in this jig right here with my Japanese pull saw. All right, so let's get going. It really doesn't take that long to cut these slots, even though it's done by hand. It's pretty quick. So there you have it. On to the next step. I cut the fingerboard to length from the nut to the back, and I put some tape on it, and the tape allows me to put a center line down the center, and I actually drew out the shape of the fingerboard as well. And then on the back side, I put double stick tape on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape it to the neck. And by the way, the neck's been cut too. The neck's been cut to size 2. I'm going to tape it to the neck, and I'm going to use these really small drill bits. I think they're 3/32 or something like that. This is definitely less than 1/16 of an inch. I think it's 3/32. And I'm going to screw little holes on this end and this end, and I'm going to go through into the neck. That's going to hold it together temporarily while I put it in the jig to route out for the truss rod spoke wheel right here. So I'm going to take it to the drill press. I'm going to stick this down and take it to the drill press, and drill these holes. I put a mark about a 1/2 inch in from the end of the fingerboard, which is what this line represents, and this line. And I go in the 1st fret and the 21st fret down here, do the same thing. I got a little piece of tape on my drill bit, and that's gonna tell me when to stop, how deep to drill it. And then after those are drilled, I'll have 4 of these little drill bits to use as pins to hold it in place. These holes are so small, you'll never see them under the frets. You've probably seen this jig in some other videos that I've done. Basically, the neck and the fingerboard are together. I got the pins in here, the pins down here. It's still double stuck. It's still stuck with double stick tape to the neck body, but you clamp it up in here, and you'll move this back and forth, and the clamps allow it to stay put. Once you clamp it, it stays put. You center up your line, and you view it from the bottom here. Might be hard to see, but. And what these knobs here do is they allow the whole neck to come in and out, so I can get the depth that I need for this cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it over to this 1/2 inch bit, and I'm going to slowly start cutting some out of it until I reach the height that I marked on here where I want it to go. Pretty simple, I guess. I don't know if I explained it well or not, but you'll see how it works. Okay, we drop the truss rod in to the slot. Fingerboard goes on top. Like I said, when we glue this down, the pins will hold everything in place. And there you have it. You have a nice slot right there. So all this will get trimmed away. You can see the outline of the fingerboard. It'll get trimmed away, and it'll be a little bit tighter, a little closer. So the next step is to glue this fingerboard down with the truss rod and get everything lined up, just like this. So we're going to spread this glue around with my roller. And I think my roller is getting too old. It's not absorbing much anymore. It's still working though, so far. Let's see if I can get this. I might have to use my finger. Spread it with my finger. Anyway, let's do the back of this fingerboard. Well, let me pull this off before I forget. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and get our pins in and find these holes. think sometimes because the wood swells up a little bit with the glue, sometimes I have a hard time finding these pinholes. But I've located them so far. This clamping caul, it has a couple holes in it to fit over these screws. Like so. You know what? Let me stop this for a second. Bind it up a little bit. Okay, the reason why I stopped there for a second, I have not glued up a 25.5-inch scale this way before. So come to find out, because my fingerboard is a little longer, my holes weren't lining up. So I just redrilled them a little wider. And that's perfect. So, okay, let's start in the middle here. You don't need a crazy amount of clamping pressure here. Start out mild pressure and work my way up. Nothing crazy here. Too much pressure can make all the glue squeeze out. Too much glue just squeeze out, and then you don't have a good bond. Right to the end, you can see a little squeeze out in the end here. That's what you want to see. And all the way around, get some pretty good squeeze out. I will clean up this end. This is where the nut's going to sit. So I've got a wet paper towel here. And that is glued up, and we'll wait for this to dry. All right, so I took the clamps off and it's looking good. It's been about an hour or so, and I like what I'm seeing. Everything's nice and straight. You can see that profile right there with the truss rod spoke wheel cut out and everything. It's looking really clean. Next step is to dimension things a little more. We're going to take a little bit more off of this top right here by sanding it out. And we're going to go ahead and put inlays in it. We're also going to make the taper for the neck, and we're going to cut out the headstock shape. That'll be on the next video. We might even get into radiusing on that video. We'll see how it goes. So if you like what you saw here today, go ahead and hit that like button. And go ahead and subscribe so you can keep up with my channel. We got more videos on how to do this scarf joint coming up soon. So thank you for joining me here at Les Guitars, where custom is what it's all about.